For Manchester United, the job is simple, isn't it? Stop that treble. If Haaland turns up and De Bruyne turns up, I don't think it matters what the opposition does. Absolutely bonkers. Real Madrid didn't know what to do. The players were looking at Ancelotti. This is Real Madrid. This is Ancelotti, one of the most organised managers in the world. To be honest, nobody stands a chance if they can play like that. Welcome, everybody. In this one, we're going to preview the FA Cup final. Manchester City versus Manchester United from Wembley this Saturday. Let me know what your predictions are, what your early predictions are. You can see by the form there that Manchester City come into this on the back of a defeat, but there was plenty of rotation against Brentford and the games previous, to be honest. And you would hope and you would think and expect to see De Bruyne, to see Haaland, to see Rodri. You know, we're not going to see Calvin Phillips in this midfield, are we? Let's be real. And if we look at Manchester United's form, it is better than Man City's in this moment in time. Man City have also got a Champions League final on the horizon, but I don't think for a second that Pep has allowed them to think about that, because this is a very, very important game, not just for the fans, but for the players as well, because this could derail them if they were to lose this, and then they've got a big game against Inter. The pressure from losing this to bounce back and suddenly a great season, a perfect season, a historic season with the treble could become just the expected season where they only won the league. It is such fine margins, so this is a massive game. It's a chance for Pep Guardiola to set the bar ahead of the Inter Milan final. If they just go and blow Man United away, what that will do for the confidence of those players going into that game. But let's not forget about Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag, who has had, regardless of who you support, you've got to admit it, he's had a great season, a great first season. Task number one would have been getting him in the Champions League, and he's done that. And then to get to a final, a couple of finals in the Cup, win one of them in the Carabao Cup. Mickey Mouse Cup if you don't win it. The best cup in the world if you do win it at the time of winning it, until the FA Cup final and until the Champions League final. Whichever the next available silverware is, to elite managers, they want it all. And Ten Hag strikes me as the kind of guy that is pretty ruthless. He's working with, I think, a squad that isn't there yet, that they're still so far behind Man City in terms of the status of the project. What position of the project are they at? You look at Man City's team and it's almost perfect. They're on about bringing in Kovacic into that midfield. I mean, Jesus, give people a chance. At the top end of the pitch, Alvarez, Mahrez, Grealish, Foden, De Bruyne, Haaland. What Man United would do for one of those players, right? And that shows the difference and where Man United need to improve, because as we'll see here, if we just look at goals, both of these teams have conceded under a goal per game. This is across the last 30 games. And the problem people used to think with Man United is that they were too shaky. It was too easy to play through them. And under Solskjaer and before Casemiro, that was true. But De Gea's won the Golden Glove. That's 15, 17 or 13 clean sheets? One of those odd numbers. And I think they deserve credit. Casemiro has had a great season, a great first season. A couple of red cards. If he can tone that side of his game down, be a bit more reliable, then he will probably justify the long contract they gave him. I think the signing is justified because he's done the job. He's solidified them. But it also just shows, the Golden Glove, the improved defence. Maguire's going to go. They're going to bring in another leading centre-back, and I think they need to. Varane's on his last legs, literally. But once they do that, maybe another midfielder. I'm not too keen on the idea of Mason Mount at Manchester United. I think he would be a good signing, good player to have in the squad, but I think he would just take up the same positions, play the same role, float around in the same way as Bruno Fernandes. I could see them getting in the way of each other if they were on the pitch at the same time. They're two very similar players, I think. But that defence that I was just touching on actually signifies the problem. You look at Man City's front line, as I said before, what United would do for one of those players. They're in for Harry Kane. At the minute, they've got Martial and Weghorst. Ten Hag has done really well, to be honest, this season with that front line. Sancho's not been firing. He doesn't look like an £80 million winger, but then again, you see players like Mudryk, and at least he's outperforming him. But I wouldn't write Sancho off. I think next season he could come good. He might become one of those players where you're always saying next season. Ironically, like Martial, I think Man United fans would say, when he's back from injury, don't worry, he's going to get 17 goals again like he did in that sort of fluke season. But it's just not going to work. He's not built for the Premier League, I don't think, and he'll probably go to France and get 20, 25 goals. So we're going to look at the odds comparison, and you can see 1.5, 1.53 is the best price you're going to get for a Man City victory. This is 90 minutes. Let's see BTTS, because if I remember correctly, a few of the last meetings between these teams has seen both teams scoring 1.83 with Pinnacle. Let's just confirm that. If we go to the results head-to-head, 2-1 to Manchester United was the last game. So Manchester United come into this having beaten Man City in the previous game. Looks like there was some late goals in that game. 6-3 to Manchester City before that. I remember that game. Haaland was immense, wasn't he? This is the thing. If Haaland turns up and De Bruyne turns up, I don't think it matters what the opposition does sometimes. If Rodri turns up, if Foden has a magic moment, and he's had a few of them recently, he's been playing well. I don't think he'll start, though, because he's been starting those games recently. Calvin Phillips has been starting. I think there's going to be rotation back to what has been the most effective team for Pep Guardiola this season, which, having Foden on the bench is not a bad thing. You'll be disappointed, Foden, but I just think he'll go back to that team that has been picking up results and essentially winning the league for him. But for Manchester United, the job is simple, isn't it? Stop that treble. And it's a pivotal game because, as I've said, Man City want that confidence going into the Inter Milan game. You don't want your season to go from a potentially historic season to just a title victory, a single Premier League title victory, which would be the expected outcome of Man City's season anyway. And that's what is possible in this week. They can go from an amazing season to an average season, and the mood in the team can completely change. So I think in both of these finals for Manchester City, the first 20-30 minutes are going to be important. Just take control of the game, start quickly, like they did against Real Madrid. Against Real Madrid, they were exceptional, and it's rare to see performances like that, to be honest. If you watch the game back, it's they suffocated Real Madrid. Real Madrid didn't know what to do. The players were looking at Ancelotti. This is Real Madrid. This is Ancelotti, one of the most organised managers in the world. They had no idea what was happening. And that is, I don't think, obviously it did get enough mention at the time, but if you just look back and if they're able to replicate that, then Man United don't stand a chance. To be honest, nobody stands a chance if they can play like that. Same goes for Inter Milan. If Man City can come out and play as they did against Real Madrid, if they can get to those levels at Wembley on Saturday, then congratulations on the double and good luck on the treble. We've seen a lot of finals recently going all the way, haven't we? I mean, all three playoff finals went to extra time for the first time ever. The Europa League final last night went to penalties, 1-1, wasn't it, between Seville and Roma. Seville lifting the trophy once more. 7 Europa Leagues, absolutely bonkers, and Jose Mourinho's first defeat in a European final. So this has been a preview. As always, let me know what you think, add a comment, and I will see you in the next one.